Welcome, everybody. It is Facebook Live time here at the Chicago Auto Show. I'm ABC7's Varon, and so happy to be back at McCormick Place, although it is in a new location, a little bit smaller scale, but we're still doing our Facebook Live topics, and I've got our panel here. We're going to talk about family vehicles today. We've got Jenny Newman from Cars.com. Becky is with Nissan, and I think the first thing I want to do, Jennifer, is start with you and talk a little bit about maybe the evolution of family vehicles and what we're looking at now, because coming out of the pandemic, so much has changed. So what are we looking for in a family vehicle?
I think what's happened coming out of the pandemic is we've all realized how important cars are to sort of everyday life, our safety, our transportation for getting around safely during this pandemic. And what that meant for a lot of people was they either needed another car, right? Because one or two wasn't cutting it, so they had to go buy another one to supplement their personal fleet. And they also were buying bigger cars, right? So we're talking about minivans, we're talking about big pickup trucks, right? People were working in their cars. They were maybe hiding from their children in their cars during the pandemic, taking meetings, right? But it served a lot of purposes, and so the car became so much more central to everyday life.
And Becky, how is Nissan addressing that?
Well, honestly, we just debuted the new Pathfinder, and it's a kind of tag along to what you just said. It was amazing how many people I knew were buying vehicles because all of a sudden they're taking road trips. Like, they want to get their kids out of the house. They've been stuck there forever. If they can go camping or go somewhere and go hiking or take them out to the beach, like, you're packing that family vehicle full and towing things. I know people that bought trailers this year and campers because they wanted to get out. They wanted to explore the U.S. and they just took their family. They were like, our kids are being homeschooled or virtual, and they just took off on road trips. So the Pathfinder this year is that perfect vehicle from Nissan because it has passenger space for 8. You can tow up to 6,000 pounds with it, and it has so much flexibility and cargo capacity and stuff like that. It's amazing. So I think that's what people were doing.
You know, I'm one of those people. My husband traded in his vehicle for a pickup truck, and we rented a camper trailer, and we drove cross country, and it was amazing. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think that families are really looking for ways to get out and about, and the vehicle becomes a part of that. So, at the auto show, Jenny, what are people looking for, and what do you recommend they do when they're looking for a family vehicle?
The Chicago Auto Show is a fantastic place to shop for your next car. And maybe that's a few years out, or maybe that's just a few months out, right? But it's a great place to start getting ideas because there are so many vehicles to explore here. And you can explore them. You can get inside. You can poke some buttons, right? You can see how the kids fit in the back. And so what I would recommend is, as you're looking around the show, think not only about your current needs, right, if you have young children, but remember that in 5-10 years, they're going to be out of those car seats. They're going to have long legs and gangly limbs. And so you want to think about how you're going to keep them comfortable in the back seat, and also looking for things that are going to keep your older children occupied, such as USB ports to charge all their devices, right? Rear entertainment systems, which never really, they're always popular with kids, even my old children.
Well, and now it's about Wi-Fi hotspots. I mean, my kids get in the car and they've got their iPads and you forgot to download something and they're like, Mom, turn your phone on. I need like a Wi-Fi hotspot. So it's just one of those things where I feel like all of that technology is what parents are looking for to keep their kids occupied.
You know, it's interesting, maybe even a handful of years ago, we were not talking about USB ports and hotspots, and it just really just came full force all of a sudden, it seems like, and that is just a very important thing. I mean, I know I look for that in a vehicle. It's like, where can I plug this in? I need to plug this in.
What I love too about the vehicles that are coming out these days are automakers are recognizing how critical that is to family life. And so it's not just in the front seat anymore. It's in the second row. It's in the third row, right?
It needs to be.
It has to be, because there are fights over these.
Or if it dies, what if you don't have battery? All of a sudden they're like, Mom, my iPad is dead. What it.
You know, it's really interesting. We're all thinking about the things that are important to us, and I want to make sure that those of you who are logged in on Facebook, whether it's on the ABC7 page or on the Chicago Auto Show page or on my personal page, if you are logged in and you have questions, please post them, because we have Jen Moran, who is the social media manager with the Chicago Auto Show, and she will let me know what your questions are, and we will answer them the best that we can, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit. We talked about minivans, but I know that we've got SUVs that are really popular. I know that Nissan has the new Aria. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Well, the Aria is not quite out yet, and that's our fully electric kind of crossover vehicle.
Yeah,
so we do have it here, so it's amazing. People can come down and check it out. Again, most of our vehicles you can get into, obviously Pathfinder and things like that, but something like an Aria or the Z Proto, we have our Z
I
concept.
saw that. That's a
it's
hot car.
beautiful, that yellow, it's amazing. And it really gives that kick back to the heritage of the Z and all that stuff. So we do have them here. Those two vehicles in particular are locked up because obviously, you know, we don't want things getting broken or things as they go on to other shows.
Right, but it's just something new.
It is, and it's going to be amazing.
I wanted to address, I know. I wanted to address EVs and how that fits in and plays in with family vehicles, because people might have concerns. What's the range? Is that going to work for me? How do I plug it in? How do I charge it at home? Jen, can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can touch on that. Of course, I think it's really important to know that there are so many EVs coming out this year from automakers, and a lot of them are SUVs, so they really are targeted to families. The ID4 is from Volkswagen, and it is basically a EV SUV with an incredibly roomy back seat and so much cargo area, I couldn't believe it. So you can have an EV and have a family at the same time. You do need to think about range, but honestly, you need to think about it kind of smartly, right? Where you're just thinking, well, what is my commute like every day? Am I going to be able to charge it at home? You know, do a little work on that with an electrician, a contractor, to make sure that you've got the electrical requirements to charge it every night. But it's possible, it's doable. And I live here in the city. I do not have a garage, right? So for me, it's a little bit more of a hurdle. However, with these longer ranges that we're seeing from EVs, as long as as the ranges are as big as 300 miles or even a little greater, I don't need to charge it every night. I can take it, I can run it around, the city for a week, and then I can go charge it for a little while and maybe read a book and get some alone time.
Yeah. Alone time? What is that?
I have no idea.
No, I would agree with that though, because the Aria is coming out with a projected range of 300 miles, and for most of what people are doing on a daily basis, I mean, that gives you the potential to even start connecting cities. You know, like I live in Michigan, and driving over here yesterday, like potentially I could do that with an electric vehicle now. And it's something that before, yes, as a family vehicle, I'm like, I need the space, I need the room, but having a crossover like that, think Murano luxury, but in an electric vehicle, that's something I could do with my family. And most of my driving is going back and forth to school and football practice and the grocery store and around town, and you really could save so much money never having to buy gas again, especially with gas prices going up too.
Right, I have a regular combustible engine in my car, and my range is about 300 miles, so what's the difference? Right. You got to think of it in those terms. When would you fuel up at the gas station? Same thing as when you would charge, so totally agree with that.
Well, and you don't have to think about it, because if it's just in your house and you plug it in every night in your garage, you wake up with a full tank. Half the time I get in the car and I'm like, my husband didn't fill it up. No.
No, you're absolutely right. I wanted to talk a little bit about the test drives here. Now, because this is the special edition show in the summer, they've got a lot more vehicles that people can get in, test them out, drive them outside. It's nice, pavement's dry, it's easy, you're not driving through snow. So are there a lot of minivans? Are there a lot of SUVs? What do we have, that people can, and why is that important?
Test driving a car is such an important part of the shopping process, and even today during the pandemic, you still need to get in the car and just make sure it really works for you. Cars are rapidly evolving, and so your car, which may be 8 years old, 10 years old, people are holding onto their cars now for I think as long as 11 or 12 years. So the technology has changed. You need to experience that truly in person and in real life. And what's really great about this test drives here at McCormick is there's a variety of cars. I know they have the ID4 down there, right? You are going to be able to really frankly, save time by just jumping between all these different vehicles and giving them a spin. And my God, what is more fun than that?
Yeah, definitely. I think even coming to the auto show and now getting a chance to sit inside some of these vehicles that people haven't had a chance to see in the last year and a half or so, it's very tactile. I mean, people like to get in, they want to touch, they want to feel, they want to see that, you know, if they have leg room, if they can adjust the seat the way they like it. I mean, you can tell a lot by sitting in a vehicle, driving a vehicle. You know, that makes all the difference in the world than just seeing it on a computer screen.
I think it's really important too when you have a family, you want to make sure, like you said, with car seats, or that the kids can fit in there. You know, I have an only, so that wasn't so much of an issue for me, but you know, you got people who have 3, 4 kids and you want to make sure there's enough room for everybody. So you bring them with, you look at the cars, you go test drive it. It's easy.
I've always told people that when they come down to the auto show, because they'll be like, well, I just need to know if I'm going to be able to fit this. And I always tell them, I always direct them to the dealerships too locally, because I mean, at least with Pathfinder right now, we don't have it here as a test drive, but it's already available out at the dealership, so they can take it down. I go, take your car seats, take your stroller, take your wagon, whatever you're planning to always haul around in your car, and take it with you, because then you can actually test it out and see how it fits in those vehicles.
I think the other thing to realize is, because of the pandemic, dealers are so willing to work with customers, right? If you want to test drive that at home, if you are not comfortable coming into a dealership, you can find dealers on cars.com. We have badges that highlight these dealers that will do at-home test drives, at-home delivery. So there's a new way to buy cars now, and it really is about the shopper.
You know, you're talking about at-home delivery. How realistic is it if somebody comes here and they find something they want to buy, they're going to be able to find that car?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is because of the pandemic and so many people needing to buy cars all of a sudden, right? We saw a huge increase in car buying that maybe wasn't anticipated by the automakers. Now we're this year in 2021, we've had some supply issues. And so that's continuing throughout the year. It's a little harder to find cars. You can find them though. What you need to do is you need to be willing to expand your search radius. So if you go on cars.com, you know, you're looking, I live here in the city, I'm looking within 20 miles. I may not find the car I'm looking for, but if I expand it out to 50 or 100, I can find that car, right? You also may need to think through what trim you're willing to get. So maybe it's not just you're looking at one specific type of car, but maybe 2 trims that you think would work for you.
Or a specific color. If you're dead set on a specific color, you might have a problem.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
But they're out there, and I think, you know, you just have to be a smart shopper, but you need to be a smart shopper today anyway. So it's good. You can find them, and even used cars, you'll be able to find cars out there as well.
You know, like I had mentioned that my husband traded his in for a pickup truck, and he did exactly that. I mean, there was maybe one left, and he took it because it's like, okay, it didn't have navigation. You can use your phone for navigation. Right. You know, I mean,
I live in Michigan, and when I was looking for my Nissan, the one I wanted, I drove to Chicago to get it. So,
and I think the other thing to realize, of course, is that you know, you may not find exactly what you're looking for, but and you may not be also able to bargain as much as you want. So know that the price may be pretty firm, but if you found that magical car, you've got to grab it.
Let's talk technology. What is new in technology in family vehicles? What's important? And you ladies, whoever wants to take it first, take it.
Yeah, I know this is a big category. Technology as far as safety has been really huge for Nissan, and especially with the Pathfinder just getting redesigned. We have our full suite of the Nissan Safety Shield 360 now standard, even on the base Pathfinder. So I mean, you're talking things like automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, rear automatic braking, lane departure warning, and there's also prevention available. So things like that.
That's all standard?
The basic 360 is all standard. So
okay.
The lane departure warning, the blind spot warning, the forward emergency braking, rear emergency braking with the pedestrian detection, that's all standard. Rear cross traffic alerts when you're backing out if there's any oncoming traffic coming. I mean, I can't tell you, as a parent and as a family when they're looking for a vehicle, I mean, that is a lot of people's number one priority. They want to know that they can get those safety features. I mean, those little things those little details make all the difference in the world.
Well, and with the automatic emergency braking, that is going to be required, federally required on all vehicles by September of 2022. So a lot of automakers like
done it already.
Nissan are getting ahead of that, right? And so that's something that, you should arm yourself with that knowledge. And as you're out and shopping, look for those vehicles that are already offering that important safety feature.
When you talk about the automatic braking, that's an important thing to test drive because to get a feel for that, it's very unusual to have these.
It's hard to trust it at first,
yeah.
but it is for those moments of like, how many times are you driving down the road and it's that glance down, or like your kids are yelling at you in the rearview mirror and you're like, what? And then somebody breaks in front of you. It's just that added like peace of mind and protection to know that like your car is going to be there for you.
And Jenny, when did you say that's going to be in all new vehicles?
So that'll be in all new vehicles as of September 2022. So it is coming.
Close.
It is really
yeah,
close,
yeah.
and that's why if you're shopping for a new vehicle right now, you want to get that technology now. It's going to help the resale value later. So it's a good investment.
You were talking about how people are holding onto their cars for a long time. I mean, I had a car for 11 years. I loved that car. And it was still great. And the only reason I traded it in was because of the technology.
Right.
And it changes so quickly. So what do you recommend? How long should we be keeping a car with that technology changing all the time? And how important is it to stay up on that?
I mean, I'm sure Nissan would tell you to buy a new car every 3 years. So, I mean, when your lease runs out. No.
It's tough, right? It's a little bit of a balancing act. I have a really old car right now as well, and it does not have a backup camera, and I may have had a teen driver who got into a rear collision because of that, right? And
Your secret's
I
safe with
just
us.
totally outed him, and I'm so sorry.
Nobody knows. No.
He's going to kill me. But, you got to think a little bit about how you're using that car every day. And, we've been toying with the idea of upgrading, frankly, to a new car, and this accident might have accelerated our plans quite a bit. So,
And now you would get an around view camera, so you'd see all around your car.
or even rear cross traffic alert, right? So as
Yes.
you put the car in reverse, you're getting notification that there's an approaching car behind you that you can't even see. This is important technology, and people should definitely stay on top of it, and I think that will help decide when it's time to pull the trigger again.
I've had my car for a few years now, and when I first got it with all of these different types of safety technology, it did take a minute to get used to that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really important, and that's one of the things here at the auto show, when you can test drive so many of these vehicles, and you can get a feel for it, and you can see how that reacts.
One of the things I've had to really get used to, and I'm sure you've driven it with the Pro Pilot Assist. So Nissan has technology called Pro Pilot Assist, and it is a hands-on, but it does kind of help ease your workload as you're driving. So basically, if you get on the highway, you're taking a road trip, you set it, and it basically uses your intelligent cruise control and your lane departure prevention, and it keeps you centered, it adjusts your speed for you depending on the flow of traffic. And yes, it's weird, it's hard to get used to, but once you do, you almost depend on it. Because my husband has it on his car, and I don't on my Nissan van because it was a little bit older. And it's funny, when he gets in to drive with me, I'm like, babe, why are you swerving all over the road? And he's like, I'm used to the car doing it for me. I'm like, you actually have to drive my car.
Well, and I think change can be difficult, right? And when you are driving these new cars, or you're test driving these new cars, at first it's a lot of beeping and buzzing, and you're getting feedback, and it's overwhelming. You need to spend the time to learn your car.
Oh,
yes.
That is so true. Oh my gosh, that is so true. I mean, I gave myself an hour when I got my car, and that was no. My brain was like crazed, and I had to stop. But then I had to go back to it to have a comfort level of understanding and knowing all of these different options.
Because it's one of those things, it does so much more than you can even imagine, and it's like you've got to know how to use it, how to turn things on or off, or how it all works. It's like your phone. I don't feel like I even know half of what my phone does, Has so much capability, but like you do have to take the time now to learn about the technologies and how they work and how they benefit you.
I know we have a lot of folks on Facebook who are watching, and I don't know if any of you have any questions. If there's some questions, Jen, why don't you come over and give me a question? This is Jen Moran. She's the social manager at the Auto Show.
So people are wondering, should they purchase a domestic or a foreign vehicle, and why, and does it matter?
Ooh, I'm taking this one. So it's funny. I would tell you that domestic and foreign, it's a lot harder to figure out than you might realize. At cars.com, we do this amazing deep dive into which cars are the most American. We just published it in June. And basically, you could find out that a Nissan is more American than a Ford F-150, right? Because of where it's built. Because Nissan has a factory in North America. We look at a variety of factors to find this out. So I would encourage people to go to cars.com/AMI to see the full list. It is 90 cars that are American built, and they have a huge impact on the U.S. economy. And of course, it's more than just the plant, it's also the dealerships, it's beyond that. But definitely, really truthfully, at the end of the day, you got to buy the car that's the best match for you and your lifestyle. That's what counts the most.
Do you have another question from Facebook? Okay, go for it.
They're coming in quick. So here's another one for you. Do people actually save money if they purchase an electric vehicle versus fill up at the gas tank?
I think the savings can take a little while to see. It also depends on the vehicle you purchase. Right now, there are federal tax credits on some EVs, not all, right? Tesla, those tax credits, or rebates, are gone. But other vehicles do have still quite a few, $7,500 rebates that people can tap into. You'll also find that states and even cities, including like Naperville, for instance, have incentives to have people install home chargers, make those upgrades.
Really?
Yes. So definitely do your research.
How do you get that information?
Well, for, of course, the city-state, you're going to need to look at that from, where you're living and do a little digging around. At cars.com, we are working on every day. We have an editorial department, and we are reporting out this information as quickly as we can, because EVs have they've gone to something that people are, curious about, to a lot of interest, a lot of intentional looking, and so we're seeing more and more people really get excited about EVs.
Yeah, and I would say, like, even just with general maintenance and everything, it's like people think, oh, they don't have to buy gas, but the car costs maybe a little bit more initially or something like that. But you have to think about even just other maintenance costs, like you never have to do an oil change or transmission flushes, or there's just so many other maintenance costs that go into your car that, like, just less moving parts, less fluids and things to go wrong in an electric vehicle. So it really is just less maintenance and cost.
I want to talk about distractions, because we've been talking about all of this technology, and if you're in a family vehicle, you're already distracted because you got kids in the car, right? So I want to just kind of pick your brains and see what your thoughts are on what is a deal breaker or a deal maker as far as technology versus distraction.
I mean, I wish they had a mute button. Is that on any vehicle? Have you seen that? No. All the kids talking in the back, and I'm like, can I just mute you right now? No.
I think one of the most interesting devices that really helps limit distraction is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And you're going to find this in the majority of cars these days. And now the new thing is wireless, right? Yes. Wireless versions of this. But really what it does is you plug your phone in, or you sync your phone to the car, and if you're getting text messages, you don't need to look at your phone. Your car will read it to you, and you can verbally respond, right? So I don't need to take my eyes off the road to deal with something, or worry about why my phone is suddenly blowing up and what are my children doing. So I think that sort of technology to me is an absolute must these days.
Yeah. What is the easiest technology that Nissan offers that is not as distracting?
Again, I just think the ProPilot Assist helps out. So if you are on a road trip, again, if you do happen to get distracted or have that moment where you need to like turn and look or grab the water bottle that fell on the floor or whatever else, you know your car is gonna adjust its speed or brake for you or keep you centered. You know what I mean? Like that makes a huge difference, to me anyway. That's what I've noticed.
I always look for a very easy infotainment center, because anything that has layers and layers, it's like, how do you do that? How do you drive, and then you're pushing buttons, and then you've got to tap into a sub-layer? That makes me nuts.
Simplified.
It has to be.
It is a real problem, and I think that's another great reason to come to the auto show, right? To experience those multimedia systems. They are so important to just driving around every day. So you want to make sure that it's something you're comfortable with, that the way the screen is positioned works for you, and the way that you drive, where your seat is positioned, all of those things, all those little things really add up.
No, I would agree. That's why I was asking you, because, you know, you have to have a comfort level, and there's a learning curve to all of this. So it's not like you can just go buy a car and drive it and go. You can't. When you buy that car, you have to put aside a couple of hours to learn that car before you drive off the lot.
I think it's important to remember this is a piece of technology, right? And just like with anything else, you need to spend some quality time with it, getting to know it, but you're gonna make that car work for you rather than you feeling frustrated or frankly a little nervous about that new car. So spend the time on it.
How has the car buying process for families changed at the auto show?
I would argue that this auto show is probably the most family friendly. I don't go to quite as many auto shows as she does, but it is, you know, there are so many cars, you are able to get into them. You've got that stroller with you, fold it up, put it in the cargo area, see what you think. You can lift things up. They're no holds barred. You know, you can just get in there and really explore.
And there's a lot of people here to help you. I mean, our company staff with product specialists, and that's our job. Like, we literally stand there all day, and if people walk up to the car, it's like we're showing them, here's how you flip the seats, here's how the console comes out, check out this storage space, here's how you would release the back hatch, or if you had this technology and you had the key in your pocket, you'd be able to put your foot under the back and power it without hands. You know, there's just having live people here to answer questions and talk is such a huge thing.
I think it's really important that you bring that up, because if you haven't bought a new car in a while and you haven't gone to the auto show in a while, you've got to understand that product specialists like Becky are so well versed in what's going on with that vehicle, and they can answer any questions that you have. So you got to make sure
I
that
tended
you
to be
ask.
the one that everybody would send with the family questions. You know, how do I install a car seat in here? How many car seats fit? Or how do I flip the seat with the car seat? That was the big thing on the Pathfinder is, you know, having a middle bench seat. How do I get somebody into the third row if I've got 2 car seats installed? And just being able to show them that technology and how Nissan has made that easy and convenient for families. And now we've been listening to you. A lot of people have been asking for a, you know, center console, removable center console with 2 captain's chairs. So we did that and showing them how that works. And it's nice to be able to come down and see it.
You know, it's really interesting. When I started doing this back in whatever year that was, the thing is, so much has changed. It has just changed. And I don't think people realize that you can learn when you're here before you buy.
Yeah, and really, you know, come with a list. Come with a list of 5
good
cars. Also come with a couple cars you're dreaming about for the days when you don't have a family, right? You don't have little ones at home and you can get a Roadster. But come with that list and explore these cars. See how they feel. It will actually help you narrow your choices.
I love when I see people walk in with their little paper and their pad. I'm like, yes, come talk to me. I want to help you out because I know you have specific questions, and I love to help you get answers. Even if I know you're going around and doing competitive comparisons, like, let me get you my information, you know?
Family-friendly vehicles, family-friendly people here at the Auto Show. So yes, we are here to answer your questions. I want to thank everybody on Facebook for joining us. We're going to be here tomorrow. We're going to be here doing Facebook Live throughout the show. So make sure that you tune in at noon. Have your questions ready. Thanks for being there. I'm Roz Varon. Have a great